Cheers to the background. So I just recorded a little backdrop of what it's like right before we go on. Um,
Are we good? Are we on?
with work on the side. We're on. So what's up? Real talk with Casey and JoJo. What's up, Casey?
What's up, JoJo? It's been a month
It's been a month
and a day.
Wow. Remember we kept talking about doing podcasts? Remember when we used to do videos but never post them and in the rabbit hole? And
My favorite part of those videos where you can't say that. You can't say that.
yeah.
You can't say that.
So we never ended up posting any of them. And here we are. We started our podcast. This is number 5, right?
Yeah, number 5.
Let's do a recap of what we've done. Our first one was This is
This
not
is not
about
about
health. Our second one was
Being in the now.
now.
Right now.
And then the third one was our twin flame journey.
Whoop, whoop.
And the fourth one was the Georgia Guidestones that we stopped by on our way back from Georgia. And then this one, ready? What is it about?
Our why.
Our why.
Why do we do this?
Why are we?
Why do we do
doing?
what? What are we doing?
So, okay, this actually, you should tell a story about how you were inspired to do this podcast.
Yes. So if you anybody watches sports, the NBA is kind of cracking down on NBA players and their V status. And a particular player, Jonathan Isaac, who plays for the Orlando Magic, basically came out and said, and he gave what I thought was a heartfelt sort of answer to the question, which is, why are you not getting the V? So he's previously had COVID. He goes over the fact that, oops, I said it. He had the C, and he goes over the fact that he's had it before. He believes in his body's natural immunity. He doesn't think that that's necessary for him. So it's a heartfelt reason, as to why. Now, I'm listening to this on sports talk radio, and shortly thereafter, the host gets on the mic and proceeds to sort of bash on the people.
Really?
Not in a hardcore way, but still, basically saying the morons, only the morons aren't getting the V. And, that triggered an emotional response in me, and I'm sort of sitting on it, and I'm thinking, I'm never going to listen to this stupid radio show again, which is dumb. But it sort of got me thinking, after Isaac responded, Jonathan Isaac, and then hearing the radio show react to his response. And they also talked about Kyrie Irving, which, if you know who that is, he's a flat earther, but the media portrays him to be kind of an idiot and a moron. So they were talking about him and his decision to not get the V either. So anyway, I'm in the shower because I came up with this idea
in the shower.
Shout out to what's the name of that movie?
Come on. It's a movie we watch all the time and quote all the time.
Just go with it. Just go with it. So anyway, so I'm thinking about this, and there's so much divisiveness, right? And
yes.
It's funny, right before we got on this, I pulled up an article, and the article was basically talking about why people are either taking the V now within the last month. And it's interesting because 33% of the people that got it was for travel or to attend events. Get it? Life sucks without being able to travel. Life sucks without being able to see, your concert or whatever. 20% was because of employee mandates. And another 15% was waiting for the Pfizer full Fed approval. So, all those reasons, again, doesn't matter. We're not here to judge those reasons, but those are the reasons why the people took the step and got inoculated, right? And so Joanna and I wanted to share kind of what our reason is for not getting inoculated.
Well, because he was very eloquent. It was very well said and very just, not just to the point. I mean, it was very to the point, but you see the common denominator. You can find the common ground between what he's saying and find some validity somewhere in what he's saying. And so we were thinking, this is all about choice. It just comes down to the choices that we make in our life. And we started thinking about the choices that we actually make in our life compared to, you guys know, if you watched the first episode, we've made a lot of changes as far as our health and how we take care of our bodies, what we put in our bodies, etc. So we've come a long way. And so it's not like we want to be here and judge, or we just want to say our story, our why. Why are we not doing it? And just so that you understand, maybe you find some common ground in there, and we can learn to understand each other's whys, because right now I feel like it's so divided of because the science or not the science. And it's like, no, there's so many more things than just black or white. Okay. So let's talk about it. What is your why, right? Even if it is to get it, why? Like stop with the just one thing. Like, why? What is your story? Share your story of why you're doing it. And hopefully we can all start uniting the way that we should be and not be so divided, because this whole
Yeah.
V versus not V is just pure division. And we all know that, divided we, what is it?
Fall.
We fall, and united we stand. So let's just talk about our why.
Yeah, and I mean, that's why we're talking about
Our
our why,
why.
right? It's similar to Jonathan's point. I mean, we want to discuss our why. And I feel like, again, I can't get online and figure out what's true and what isn't. Joanna's much more sort of fixed in her position, but I was a science guy growing up. Like, I love science, right? And that's that term, first things up,
Don't
first
get
and
me wrong, I
foremost.
love science too.
Yeah, love it.
The
But
right science, like
but
true
science
science.
science by and large should always be asking questions, right?
Yes.
Should always be looking to disprove what it thinks it has proven, right? And the way science is being used now, it's like, well, no, it's the science, and it can't be false, it's only the truth, because science is truth. And it's whatever.
Science is question, you're supposed to question it.
Yes.
Science is always changing. We've seen that by, if you have taken this, blah 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 blah, because at one point they tell us something is good, and then later you find out by the science that it's not. So science changes, and so it's normal to question the changes that can possibly occur from the science.
Yeah, and what got me straight up questioning science was when they said Pluto wasn't a planet. I'm like, hold up.
I remember
Pluto's
you.
been a planet forever. I mean, it was the planet of the last planet, the ice planet from elementary school. And now you're telling me it's not a damn planet, but
Yeah, like it's
science said it
changeable.
was. Hold up, what? We went to the moon, and now you're telling me Pluto's not a planet? Get the fuck out of here. I started questioning science once I heard that.
Questioning the moon.
Questioning science.
The moon landings. Let's not get into that. Go ahead.
Yeah,
So
but let's talk about our why we have chosen not to get inoculated. And so I want to just kind of describe our lifestyle, right, in terms of what we believe, because that's what it comes down to, right? Is what do you believe as a person? What do you believe in? What do you feel strongly about? Because nobody else should define that for you, right? That is your own
right.
conviction, that is your own path, and it should be respected, period. Right? So we're a family of four, two kids, us, a couple dogs, and
Man, that's a lot.
you cannot find a bottle of any medication in our house. No Advil, no ibuprofen, no cold pills, flu pills, or whatever, nothing.
Whatever pills,
You know,
prescription pills,
none of it.
nothing.
Couldn't find a bottle. And I told her last night, I was like, man, we should, like, $10,000 if you can find a bottle in a house. And I'm like, oh shit, there might be one tucked away somewhere from like 10 years ago. But it wasn't always that way. But that's
Right.
how we've been probably for the last, I don't know, 6, 7,
8,
8, 10 years. I don't know.
7 years
Ish. Right.
ish.
Now,
8.
why is that important? Because at the core belief, what we believe is that I do not believe I need man-made external things put into my body to make itself feel better, to make itself operate. Now, again, I know there's exceptions to that rule, but that is how we operate. We are so passionate about that I believe that if I start to feel sick, I'm going to eat better. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to pray. I'm going to do the things that I can do to help my terrain become more healthy, my body.
Allow yourself to detox, allow
Yeah.
yourself
Yes.
to relax. And because usually it's our bodies telling us, hey, you got too much stress going on.
Work
Hey,
on my
hey,
mental.
hey, all that stuff.
Work on my mental game. That's the approach that I'm going to take. I'm not going to go to the doctor. I'm not going to look for a doctor. The only situation that I would go to a doctor is if, like, my rib was poking out of my chest, or I broke a bone, or I needed some sort of manual manipulation that we're so good at with surgeries and various things. But it's not going to be because I feel ill or because I'm worried about cancer
And
or
he's always
because
been that way.
always,
Always, always.
always. And sort of a side note, I mean, that my grandfather who was a man that I probably my favorite person other than Joanna, um, throughout my entire life was a huge impact in my health journey. He's the man that gave me the eat the color of the rainbow on your plate. But one of his beliefs was that if he found out he had cancer or any kind of terminal illness, he was not going to seek help. He was just going to let it take its course and pass as God, based on God's will. Well, as he got sicker, he did go to the hospital. He got chemo, and he told me that he did it for his wife, but again, I'm not here to question that, but it only further strengthened my conviction is
Hmm.
that if I found out I had cancer tomorrow, I'm good. I'm gonna meditate. I'm gonna work on it. If I die from cancer in 6 months, that's my path, right? And that's how we believe, and that's how we live our lives. Doesn't mean that anyone else should do that. Do you, boo? Right? Like that's how we live our life. And to me, understand if you understand about that about me, that I'm not, reading fake news as you may consider it, and then that and listening to a YouTube video, and that's where I'm basing my decision off. No, this is deep rooted beliefs for us. We
Yeah, like just the fact of, if we don't take Tylenol, for example, right? Like if I'm like, no, thank you, I'd rather go through the pain. And I used to, but now I don't. So it's like, if I don't even take that, why would I want to put the risk of taking anything else that is man-made, that again is in testing, is in trials right now, it's all experimental, that not only that, but that the animals, all 100% of them, died from. So
supposedly,
that's what it says.
I know, but supposedly,
Okay, but either way, like
because
this
it's not about the
information,
science, it's about
either
my
way,
story.
either way, I'm just saying that's added on. But I'm the kind where I don't want anything. I mean, it's hard enough to even get our
Yeah, yeah,
food
yeah.
from the groceries. Like
So
it's super hard just to even put that in our bodies, let alone,
did you
just
scrub that
something.
strawberry? Did you scrub
Yeah.
that strawberry? There
I
ain't no
rather
strawberry
I rather
left.
just like put it in the garden and do it myself. But this is where this is where we are now. So now all of a sudden all this is happening. We still are standing where we stand, where we're not changing our beliefs. It's actually just a little bit stronger because you have some type of like forcing going on, right? And a lot of us question when we're being forced to do something. I mean, think back when you were little. When someone tells you to do something, you're always like, why? But why? And then mostly parents go, because I told you so, right? And so we start conditioning our kids with, I told you so. Oh, okay, so let me just comply,
Yeah.
right? But what about the whys? I have always grown up with why. I want to understand why you're telling me this, because if it makes sense, okay, I get it. I came here with the choice of having just having free will, just being able to make a choice. I mean, if I can go outside at any point in time and do whatever I want, I can go kill myself, I can go kill somebody else. Like, I mean,
No.
I'm just saying, like, you can do whatever it is that you want because you have God-given rights to make decisions and choices. Then why am I being forced to make this decision? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's here to I question that. And so yeah,
Yeah.
that's my stand.
Well, and I think too, you're basically saying that because of how strong your beliefs are, you've got to prove to me
Right.
that this V is for my best interests, right? And that's a tough thing to do,
And
right?
I think it comes down to fear. A lot of, they've put a lot of fear into this sea. And I mean, I just simply don't have fear over the sea at all. Like to
Yeah.
me, it's like
I
nothing. So why would I go and have a V when I'm not fearful of the sea? Like I'm like, I'll take my chances. I'll get sick.
yeah,
It's
me
fine.
me and Isaac play frisbee golf quite a bit, and because he has a husky, and the husky is just batshit crazy. You passed me one.
Cora.
Yeah, her name's Cora. Anyway, she's got to let out tons of energy. So that's a good way for, me and him and I to hang out. We can walk the dog, kind of kill two birds with one stone. But we finished the last hole and walking to the car, and the park was packed. I mean, it was last weekend, I believe. It was like 75 degrees. It was perfect, sunny day.
Oh yeah, I remember.
And you look around, and I think out of maybe 100 people, two had a mask on. So we're outdoors, right? But I looked at him and I'm like, man, if you took somebody from 2019 and before and you dropped them in this moment and said, hey, there's a worldwide pandemic where our president went on air and mandated the V, employers are mandating the V,
Mm-hmm.
what would you think? And it's like, really? Because it does. People were playing and having fun, and nobody had,
Look at
and
all the games, the football games, the stadiums are packed. You would never know what's
never
going
know.
on.
And I think that
It's the media.
that lends credence to, yeah, to what you're talking about, is that it's fear. Just like when we read over the statistics, Joanna and I are making a decision not to get inoculated because of travel. In fact, I mean, we travel and want to travel and have canceled travel because of our belief, right? We're If my employer tells me to get the V, peace, I'm not going to do it. That's my
But
income,
that's
that's my
just how
livelihood.
strongly we believe in not doing that,
Right.
period. I mean, we never got the flu shot either.
Yeah, I mean, we don't, and some people are going to go, you guys are idiots, we don't have a family
But we're
doctor.
not
We go to, if
sick
something
ever.
happens, we go to urgent care. And that's happens, I think, as a family, we've been to urgent care or something similar, other than having to get a physical for Isaac when he played football, twice in the
Yeah,
last 7-8 years. Twice, right? So
we don't get sick.
there's got to be a compelling reason for us to use the medical system, and it has to mostly emergency, right? Because we're firm in our belief that if I find out I got 60 days to live, but you tell me I could take chemo and live another 2, potentially maybe 6, nah, I'm peacing out. I'm going to enjoy my last 60 days. I'm going to do my
Or try
best
to
to
better
correct it.
it. Yeah.
Right. And if that doesn't happen, then that's the course of my life. And that's the sum of all the decisions that I've made that have led up to this point from a health standpoint. Right. So, I think with all the division that is going on, and it's so easy to get pissed off when you feel as if the science is true and valid, and someone's telling you that it's bullshit, and she says that 100% of animals have died, and you're just like, oh god, I love the conspiracy theorists. You know what I mean? Like that.
That's just one small thing of so many. The fact that it's not 100% concrete, like this is a book, this is a book, this is a Bible, this is a Bible, and this is a book, and that's true 100%, right? But come on, when you're telling me, oh, I don't know, and you got half the people saying, yeah, that's not that, I don't know, it's so divided and it's like not concrete. So why would I even just put my 100% faith of my entire body and DNA into something not concrete? It does not make any sense,
Yeah, 100%. And
especially when they're not even held liable for the injuries at all. So how can they mandate something that you can't even be held liable for? Look at Vayers and all the injuries that have been caused from all of this. I would rather take my chances than play Russian roulette.
well, then how would you answer someone who says, well, COVID can exist in your nasal passages and then
Say it
can
normal, because
sorry.
that's the Virgo
Am I
in
being
you.
condescending? I'm sorry.
Yes.
So what if sorry, what if there's a virus, the normal COVID virus lands in your, sorry, the COVID, the C, lands in your nostrils and then mutates and then creates a variant, and because you don't have the V, you're
Oh my God,
spreading
but
it
who
to
said
other
all
people.
that? Who said all that?
I don't know who said it. I'm just
Where did
saying
it
that's an
come
argument.
from? I'm just saying,
What would
like,
you say to that person though?
I can't even make sense. Listen. I cannot talk to people.
Uh-oh.
I'm sorry. I cannot talk to people who want to argue with me about one puzzle piece. And looking at that one puzzle that they have, and they're 100% sure on that puzzle because they see that puzzle piece and they're like 100% arguing with me. I cannot argue with them about the entire puzzle and what the puzzle is actually about. They could be holding a flower and the whole thing could be shit and a flower inside that shit, and they'll think it's flour and it's shit. and you can't get them to see that if they're holding a flower. You cannot get somebody to see the entire puzzle if they're just holding one piece. So what I'm saying is that I can't get them to see that. They're going to have to pick up the pieces. This is why so many people are talking about it, trying to help you to see, hey, there's another perspective. I have a piece. Hey, I got another piece. Hey, I got another piece. Start connecting the pieces, guys. Connect the pieces and see the larger freaking puzzle at hand. Start following the money here. Start following common sense and stop following this authoritarian type of freaking because I said so. Like, go back to your childhood. Really? Because I said so? And who are you to authorize that? This is where my ODD kicks in.
I think you should just say no comment.
No comment.
No comment. Rant over.
Done.
But seriously, I mean, it's hard to answer that question because that person believes in something that you don't believe in, right? It's like why we don't argue about religion, because nobody can prove anything. I can give you study after study after study, but guess what? There's another study that says your study's bullshit. So who's right and who's wrong? And that's the crux of the problem.
And that's why we all need to stop with the division.
We just need to get back to humanity. Like, one of the things that bugs the shit out of me is that we go to the grocery store a lot. We live very close to one.
Oh my
We
God, every
frequent
day.
it often, sometimes multiple times a day.
Yes, we do.
Sometimes multiple times an hour.
They're back.
Oh. But people, at least for me, and maybe it's just me, but people don't look at each other in the eyes anymore. It's like
Yeah.
you're walking past an avatar, or not an avatar, but like a character in your game, and they don't even acknowledge your existence because we've sort of become just head down, eyes forward, and I personally think that a lot of that is because of the emotional response, because I'm not wearing a mask, right? And because I'm not wearing a mask, then, and you are, then we must oppose each other. And because we oppose each other, we need to keep our connection at a minimal, and sort of not treat each other as if we're human, because we're actually enemies, right?
And look at the evolution of it from when it started. First, it was a great division of mask. Then it was a great division of like double mask versus whatever. Then it was a division of like the V's, and like we have to look at what's the common denominator here? Division. So like I've started over time, as I've looked back and reflected, I've started to go, okay, I'm going to start smiling at the people that have masks on, regardless of what they think about me, regardless of what they may or may not be judging. I'm going to smile. I don't have a mask on. So they need to see my smile. And so I'm starting to do that, and just maybe it'll change one person's opinion when, maybe not all non-maskers are mean or whatever it is that, or, selfish or whatever it is that they think. And so we have to start looking at the common denominator. What do we have in common? We all want to be safe. We all, those that are shouting out, don't get the V, don't get the V, they're saying it because they feel like they're wanting to protect those people from getting injured, from possible blood clots, from possible, strokes,
Whatever.
from possible anything, right? Because there's always a chance, right, of something. So, and then there's those that are get it because they want to protect, because they feel like they're protecting. The common denominator, we want to be safe
And protect each other.
Right.
We're all coming
it's
from a
not
good
like,
place.
right. It's not like you're selfish and I'm selfish. And, they'll say I'm selfish 100 times, but like, really, am I selfish? Because I'm doing a lot of things that are very non-selfish. So to me, it's very contradicting. And imagine the children that are growing up in this division. Like, what is that going to look like in the future? That's going to make me cry right now thinking about it.
It's funny you mentioned that, because one of the things that I've asked Joanna is, I'm like, man, like if I had, because we've got older children, 15 and 16 and 14. Oh my god.
Oh my God.
And like I remember what it was like when they were 3, when they were 4, ask questions, and they ask questions and they want to know why and why and why. And I asked her, I was like, how would you answer a child that asked you, why is that family not wearing masks, mommy? Why is that family not wearing masks, daddy?
Like, what do you say? They're bad?
Yeah, they're irresponsible. They don't care about your health. I mean, how do you answer that question? It's their choice. Well, why is their choice? What do you mean? I mean, you just sort of go down that line of questioning.
Hurts my heart.
Yeah, and you don't really have a good answer unless you come back to exactly what we're talking about, which is they have a why, right? They have a why. And I think that we need to start as a community and as a people respecting each other's why, right? When you see someone that doesn't have
What's your
a mask
why?
on, why? Why are they not? Think about why they're not wearing it. They might have a very good reason as to why, and instead of assuming that they're, is it, I don't even know the political terms, far left or far right, or,
I don't
they're
even
a
know what that
Trump
means.
supporter and love guns and, whatever, man. I mean, none of that shit matters. It's they have a reason, and that
Right.
reason, whether it's selfish or whether it's not, should be respected,
I
right?
mean, that's like saying that because we don't eat meat, we're bad because we eat like we're vegetarian. You know how like vegans and vegetarians, some of them are looked at as really bad because they push it on, they push it. Like we don't push anything. We're just like, this is our choice. You do you, boo, we do us, right? This is why we do what we do. You do what you do, and that's how it should be. It shouldn't be like, I'm mad because you eat meat. Like, don't eat meat. Like, I don't, whatever, you do you. Like, I used to eat meat, I get it, but I changed my choices. Like, if you haven't changed your choices, that's on you. And maybe you don't want to, maybe you don't have to. Like, I don't care, right? That has nothing to do with me. So why are we getting upset at each other as a whole, as a society? Because the media is pushing that. It's subliminally putting that on us, saying things here and there, and people are just repeating it.
Yeah, the amount of stories that I see, because I read a lot of like quick view, a lot of stories, just because I like to see what the narrative is. And the amount of times that I see, specifically on Yahoo, is they always push a 19-year-old teacher in Florida didn't get the V, has now died, and wish her last breathing words were, "I wish I had gotten the V."
And then you hear the opposite, and you hear of all the people that are getting injured and that they're not doing anything about it. And why are they calling it stress related? Why are all these injuries after the shot, why are they all calling them stress related?
Yeah.
And now they're paralyzed and all these things. Why are people not looking at that?
Yeah, and if you're one of us, for example, and when I say one of us, meaning you're a person who chose not to get inoculated, right?
Whose phone is that?
Like imagine, I forgot, lost my phone's ringing, so I'm losing my train of thought.
If you're one of us, and who's us?
Us meaning like people who choose not to get the point
Okay.
is, or VD.
Bead. Ooh.
So sorry. So the point is like if you see someone, if you meet someone, or someone has a story where, say, their wife got the V, 3 days later she died. That's happened, right? How would that make you feel, right? How think about that could be someone you see who's not wearing a mask or has chosen not to get inoculated, and now their employer is forcing them to get the V when maybe someone close to them died because of it. It's happened, right? How strongly do they feel about that? On the opposite, if you're someone who, like us, who doesn't want to get the V, who doesn't want to get the V, end of the month, end of the quarter, all the time, um, who doesn't want to get the V, right? And it's being forced on us. And say I know someone, who, same thing. I mean, they've died of the V. Where do you go with this? How far do you take it? I mean, the point is you just don't know what the other person has experienced. And you shouldn't, and you don't need to know. We just
Don't
need to
put
be
them in a
compassionate,
box, right? Don't put
right?
people in a box and assume it's just because this or it's just because that. Ask why. Try to figure out their why, and maybe we can all start to just find that common thread that will bring us like back to that unity, back to that oneness, where the common denominator, we all want to be safe. We all love each other and we want to be with each other, etc.
I remember what I was gonna say. Good, because I was feeling super stupid for this last like 2 minutes. So imagine if you got the V, right? And then you hear somebody, you see a YouTube video that basically says anyone who got the V is going to die within the next 3 to 5 years. Like, what do I do with that information if I chose to get the V? If I believe in the science, and I will fight for the science, what do I, how do I dismiss it? Do I call them stupid? If
Well, people say, oh, if it's on YouTube, it must be stupid. But come on, there's a lot of like frontline doctors on
well,
YouTube being censored.
right. Well, my point is that if I've taken it and now you're telling me that I'm going to die in 3 to 5 years, when the whole purpose of me taking it is so that I wouldn't die in the next 3 to 5 years, how do I process that information? Right. I mean, most
Yeah.
people are going to go,
A
they're
lot of
stupid,
people are starting to feel
they're
like, what do
dumb,
I do?
right? Or they're crazy, or they're far left or far right. And their opinion, they're just one of those conspiracy theorists, right? And then maybe you start to hear it more and more and more. How do I process that as someone who's taken the V? And that's a conversation, that we've had as well, is that, again, and at the end of the day, if I stack it up and I line it up, which side of the equation if I'm on, get it or not get it? And no matter what I do from a logical, non-emotional standpoint, there's not enough validation for me to get it. And the fact that you're mandating it, oh my God, like that's where we are in this process, because the division is such that if they're going to get to that 80% number, that herd immunity, it's only going to be through mandates, right? That's the
Right.
only, but that's not the way to do it.
God, pushing it on people, and then realizing, like, what if, right? This is just what if you were wrong? What if you were wrong and then that changed you as a person and you can't go back from that?
And what if you're the wife of a husband whose employer mandated it, and 3 days later he dies, or a week later, or maybe he's got, whatever the medical
Yeah.
conditions are afterwards, the side effects, and he's not the same person anymore. Like, how would that make you feel, man? Like, if it were me, I'd be pissed. Like, I would be pissed,
Yeah, and
right?
there's a lot of people trying
Pissed.
to share that information, and they just look like, oh, they're just crazy people because they're not following the science. And come on, guys,
So
wake up.
so our why, I mean, if and we would love to have an interview with someone like on a V side versus an on V side, and just have the conversation with a mediator, of course,
Right, because it's not about
because
arguing.
yeah, it's
It's
not
really
about
just about
arguing
trying to get to the equal.
and understand,
Yeah.
right? And understand. But our we are firmly rooted in a belief system that our body can handle if we treat it right, right? Through mind, body, and soul. If we treat it right, we're putting our bodies in the most capable position to handle anything that gets thrown at it. And at the end of the day, if our body can't handle it, then we accept it, we move on, we either die from said disease or whatever, or we overcome it through making changes, growing, and eating better and treating ourselves better. That's how we live our lives day in and day out. So for someone to come in and say that we're stupid or we're this or we're that because we don't believe in the V, we wanted to share our story so that you can see how passionate we are and why we make the decisions that we make, because there's no BS, right? Like we don't go to the doctor and get prescriptions and take any of the 18 million commercials that come on every night on regular TV, right? We don't live that life. We feel like we live as pure a life as we possibly can without medical interference, and the V is a direct opposite of that belief, and that's our why.
Okay, and I have something to say.
Hit them.
I think what it comes down to is this whole fear of death, right? Like pushing it farther, pushing it farther, pushing it farther. I Let me try to make more time, but yet are you enjoying the time that you have right now? Right? Are you living your life?
Podcast too.
Are you living your life? Yes. Are you living your life fully? Or are you just, I mean, you can't, one day you're going to die. We all have that day that's going to come. So are you living to the fullest? Are you loving your life? Because you get to choose, I either drink water or I don't. I get to make that choice. So am I making the choices that make me feel better, that fill me up, like that fill my cup? Am I making those choices and living to the fullest? Because if that's the case, then you don't care about whether tomorrow's your last day, because you're living your life. But those that aren't really living their life, they're
Yeah.
living in fear.
Yeah, it's interesting. So you accept responsibility and release responsibility all at the same time, but it's a healthy way to do it, right?
I mean, I'm just saying, like, I think it comes
I
down
like it.
to pushing death farther because you're scared of death, which is understandable. I get that. But you know what? That just means that you have more work to do spirit wise. Because if you've neglected spirit and you've not really understood yourself, who am I? Why am I here? Where did I come from? If you can't go, the whole saying, know thyself. If you do not know thyself, you have a lot of work to do. You don't know what triggers you don't know, you haven't had that communication with the spirit side, which is the big side that helps balance out mind, body, spirit. So if you have that connection, you have nothing to worry about.
Yeah, chance.
Maybe it's trying to tell you you need more of that connection.
Yeah, and chances are, if you've got any current drama going on in your life, it's probably related to some child issues or drama that you had that you have not released, right?
Hmm. That's it.
Yo,
We done.
so why?
That's our why.
Yeah, and I encourage, not trying to start a movement or anything, but I think what Jonathan Isaac did was beautiful. I think
Very
that
well said.
more people should share their why in a non-threatening way. Hopefully, we have not said anything that offended anyone. That's never our intention.
People are
It's
always going to get offended, and that's that. It's fine. We understand that, but that was
and
not our intention at all.
yeah, and if you are offended, it's because we're mirroring back to you something within yourself. And I say that a lot because it's true,
It
because it
is.
happens to me, and it's something I deal with pretty regularly in my own personal life.
So
But if
just
you're
use that
offended,
as something.
yeah, think about why. And there's some work that needs to be done internally, and get to work on that and
Yeah.
fix it.
So hashtag my why.
Let's do it.
And let's create some unity up in this piece. What do you think?
UNITY.
I thought about that. I thought
Hashtag
about that.
UNITY. Queen Latifah.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. This is episode 5, and we will see you guys next Thursday. Peace.